Okay, today we're going to talk about tying frets. Sooner or later you have to replace frets, and many people are rather nervous about this, but it's really quite easy. One thing that happens to frets is that they get loose, and I would say that if you are going to wedge a fret to make it tighter, please do it with a folded piece of paper, not with a matchstick or something which might scratch the back of the neck. But frets also wear out, and so what we're going to do is replace a worn out fret, and I'm just going to show you how to do that. We have some implements here. We need obviously some fret gut of the right size. I'll come on to that in a minute. We need a soldering iron. We don't want to be playing with matches. And some nail clippers are very useful for cutting gut, and a micrometer for measuring the thickness of the gut, and a fret ruler, the use of which I will explain in due course. I'm going to replace the second fret on this lute. So the first thing to do is to take the fret off. If you have a varnished neck like this, it's actually quite important to not, you do try not to scratch it, so you want to try and lift the knot as you move the fret. And I'm going to slide the fret down towards the nut to loosen it, clip it with my clippers, and that's that. But we don't throw it away just yet, we need to find out how thick it is. So we're going to take the micrometer. By the way, micrometers are very cheap these days, and so it's well worth having one to measure strings and frets. I'm going to measure the bit of fret that went around the back of the neck rather than the bit that was at the front, because the bit that was at the front is probably squashed and a different size from what it was when it was first put on. Anyway, this fret is 0.8 millimeters, so you take a piece of 0.8 millimeter gut and we pass it from under the strings, it's the end under the strings, from the bass to the treble, making sure it goes under all the strings, otherwise we have a few problems down the line. And then at this end we tie a little overhand knot You don't put it up really tight, it's just leave a little gap so it looks like that. We then burn down the end to make a little mushroom shape. Gut swells up as it burns, so we have a little mushroom on the end there. And then we take the free end of the gut and pass it through that knot, like that. And we can then tighten the fret up, like that, with the knot right at the top of the neck, like that. And we're tying it a centimetre or so lower than its final position. We then cut off the end, about 4 millimetres or so long, and we carefully burn that end down as far as the knot, being careful not to burn anything else. And we can now move the fret back up to its correct position, again lifting the knot slightly to try to avoid scratching the neck. And we can check the position using our trusty fret ruler. On here I've marked the position of the nut at this end, and I've made little marks along here showing what the notes are on the top string. This is for equal temperament, and on the other side of the paper I've marked out what I'm actually using on this lute, which is 6th comma mean tone. So there are some alternative, I've marked in red some of the alternative fret positions for different notes. So G sharp and A flat are 2 different notes, for instance, in this temperament, and so I've got the marks for both of them on there. And you can use that, obviously if you keep one of these in your lute case, you can check that at any time. Those are only theoretical positions. Obviously you sometimes need to adjust frets slightly by using your tuner. or whatever to try and compensate for anything funny that's going on with the strings. One final thing to note about frets is that the height of the strings above the frets obviously is very important, and many lutes have a nut which is too high. The distance between the top of the fret and the string at this first fret should be very small. It's only about the same as the diameter of the string, and that's very important. And also that should be maintained as you go up the fingerboard. So if you hold the string down on the first fret, when you press it on the second fret, the distance that you have to press it down should be about the same, and a very, very small distance, the smallest that you can get away with without it buzzing. So that may mean that you might have frets which need to decrease slightly as you go up in diameter, as you go up the neck, or you might be able to have frets which are all the same size as you go up the neck. It just depends on how low the overall string height is.